Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the White Album 2 side story, The Idol Who Forgot How to Sing. This was a bonus story included in the PlayStation 3 version of White Album 2, and it goes over kind of Setsuna and Haruki's gap years between introductory chapter and closing chapter when it was just impossible for them to connect. And Setsuna has just found she was staying home from the school trip because she was really heartbroken about Haruki changing departments. Well, she just found out that because she had called out sick, Haruki actually stepped up to take over and he went on the trip, and she's just very angry about the whole thing. So let's just continue from there. To Setsuna, this was unforgivable because now everything was clear. The one he had been trying to protect by going on the spring break seminar trip, the fact that he had intervened on behalf of a continuing friendship. Still so nice to everyone, Haruki-kun, but not to me. You're awful. Still lecturing everyone, even girls, Haruki-kun. But you won't do it to me. You're awful. Still helping your friends to evolve, Haruki-kun, but you won't help me. You're awful. At that moment, Setsuna found two more things to hate about Haruki. She hated him for readily blending into a different world with his friend and his new girlfriend, who, by the way, isn't even Haruki's girlfriend. She hated him for no longer existing in the world she would never be able to escape. I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. Her head was filling up with Haruki. Listen, breakups are hard, and I know that she's heartbroken, but it's been years. It's literally been years. What on earth? Come on. With every hatred, she added, her feelings for him intensified beyond what they were before. Setsuna had been doing this the wrong way from the start. She should have been collecting indifference, not hatred. But right now, standing in the street in a daze with one broken shoe, there was no way for her to understand such an obvious fact. Now, hatred, like I said last episode, and maybe I feel like I didn't word it very well. I think at the point of a breakup, right after that, it's fine to hold hatred, right? You can, my opinion, you just hate the person. But yes, as time goes on, that should turn into indifference. Because hatred means you're still actively thinking about them, they're still actively on your mind. Indifference is like, you know what? I don't care anymore. You are not worth my mental energy. And obviously, Haruki is taking up 99.9% of her mental energy. So it's still not a very good, healthy thing. May. A fine afternoon, the last day of Golden Week. Hey, sis, I don't know whether I should be the one to say this. Then don't say it. I don't see how it can be any fun for you to shut yourself up for Golden Week like you did for spring break. I just told you not to say it. And Golden Week in Japan is a week-long, it's like a week of different holidays with every day being dedicated to a different thing. So a lot of people go on trips or go see family, and it's nice, except everywhere is really crowded with tourists. Setsuna had spent the consecutive holidays just as her brother said. Yet again, doing nothing from morning to night, avoiding seeing anyone. School starts again tomorrow. I don't really want to go. Senioritis. But she could only escape reality for one more day. After today was over, she would return to a life that was full of people, but empty of Haruki. Even though he had almost never spoken to her when they were in the same department. Even though she had dragged this loneliness around her for 2 years. Even though they had broken up in spring, even though there was no need for her to be assailed by feelings of emptiness, Setsuna awaited the next day in idleness with new wounds forming. Just as she was on the point of sinking even deeper, the front doorbell rang out shrilly. Shrilly? I don't know. I've heard the word shrill, like her shrill voice. I don't think I've heard the word shrilly, though. Someone's at the door, sis. I'm not dressed. I'm in my pajamas. If I walk outside looking like this, everyone in the neighborhood is going to talk. Do you really want that? Then wear real clothes when you're at home. The neighbors did see the daughter of the Ogiso household as a proper young lady, in both appearance and personality. But her brother, who personally saw her loafing around the house like this almost every day, couldn't possibly agree with that appraisal. He's always saying, he's like, what's so special about my big sister? She's literally just a big sister, that's it. It's so funny that he doesn't see what so many other people see in her. They just rang again. I know, I heard it. Fine, hang on. With a groan, Takahito finally answered the summons, shuffling down the hallway in his pajamas. There was an interphone monitor. Interphone monitor? That's such a weird thing to say. It's like the doorbell camera, basically. Most Japanese houses and apartments have them. In the living room, but the Ogiso family was fundamentally laid back enough that no one made use of it as a security device. After a moment, she heard the door open, then Takahito talking with someone, and another moment later, the sound of footsteps returned to the hall. It's for you, sis. Who? She no longer had the optimism to hope for Haruki unconditionally. Well, thank God for that, because every time she gets her hopes up, she crashes and burns for like 6 more months. By the window of a cafe, 15 minutes walk from the house, 2 people sat facing each other. It's been a little while, huh? Has it? Of course it had. They hadn't seen each other in 3 months. I'm sorry I haven't been in touch. I've had a lot going on, actually. Uh-huh. She, too, had a lot going on. Have you lost weight? Oh, I don't know. I've lost 8 kilograms myself. I started working for a moving company, and it's pretty intense. 8 kilograms is crazy. That's like 14 pounds, 14 US pounds. That's a lot. She hadn't noticed anything, whether he'd lost or gained weight, whether he'd gotten tan or pale. She couldn't even remember what kind of face he had just been making. And really, she wasn't of any mind to look closely at him to check. So, what's this about, Tomochika-kun? Because the tiny bit of hope she'd had, even with conditions attached, had been betrayed. We kind of left off without resolving anything. It was bothering me. Yeah, you have a right to be bothered. Honestly, the whole thing that went down between him and Setsuna is just not good. Even if she just said, like, hey, I'm not ready for a relationship, that's fine, honestly. But the fact that she just did nothing is just so rude. Tomochika's smile was slightly embarrassed, apologetic, awkward. But to Setsuna, that expression didn't mean anything else. Just a discomfited look from a guy she knew. So, I'll make this quick. Sorry, but I have to get back home soon. How rude. He's literally about to say, like, he just said, I'll make this quick. Don't interrupt him. Oh, yeah, sorry. I said I'd make it quick, but it's been 10 minutes already. She had nothing but time. Her only plans after this were to go home and eat dinner. But she didn't want to be here any longer. Okay, so I just wanted to know your answer for... I see. Oh, no. This is so awkward. I really don't like this. This is so rude. Listen, I Setsuna's depressed. Like, obviously she's depressed. I'm trying to cut her some slack, but at the same time, depression's not an excuse for being straight up rude. And that's what she's doing. She's not even saying anything to him. Just like the last time. That is so rude. Just tell him. Just be like, hey, I just want to be friends. That's all you have to do. It is not that hard. Or like, I don't feel the same way. Literally anything would be better than just sitting there in silence. My God. In response to the continuation of Tomochika's confession, likely spoken after mustering up a great deal of nerve, Setsuna gave nothing but complete disregard, even though she was the one who would hasten the topic. Sorry, Ogiso, for putting you in that position. Blatantly averting her eyes, not denying it in the least. I guess I'll get going then. And keeping silent is a sign of affirmation. Oh, also, Setsuna had changed. On her 20th birthday, 3 months ago, she had made another subtle change. It's about Haruki. Her kindness, in form only, shown to everyone equally, had disappeared. She no longer smiled the way she had, only on the surface, at everyone. Yeah, clearly, that little mask that she wore, trying to be like, oh, the beloved school idol, like, that is gone. Now she's just like, I hate to say it, but like a rotted person. Like they talked about her rotted heart. It really is. The other day, she had ceased to be the good girl who wanted happiness for everyone. Her spite had grown a bit too strong to be called the Ogiso family's pride and joy. I guess you're not interested in that either? The pheromones that drew people in remained as they are, but she had grown sharp thorns to pierce anyone who got too close. Did you break up for real? No, they broke up for fakesies. As things were, she might well make extra enemies. Perhaps the girl who had been loved above all would become hated above all. Actually, you probably don't want to talk about that either. Forget I said anything. Yes, just like the one who had been Setsuna's best friend for one scant moment. Okay, I'm leaving for real this time. Wait. Huh? What about Haruki-kun? Now it was Tomochika's turn to fall silent. What about him? Pfft. Oh, what? What is it? And now he began to laugh in astonishment. To laugh at this question, posed and timed in the most selfish way imaginable. You're cruel, Ogiso. Huh? But he knew. No, he had known since they first spoke. Known about this awful behavior of Setsuna's, almost unconscious. Your personality suddenly changes when Haruki comes up. You genuinely don't care at all about what other guys think. Huh? Huh? She is. Like, this is so rude. This is so Listen. Okay, let's not even talk about the past. Let's just talk about this one instance. He brings her to the diner. He's like, hey, 3 months ago, you never gave me an answer to my question, and we kind of left things off awkwardly. He's like, so I just want to reiterate, here are my feelings. How do you feel? She doesn't say a word. Not a word. Doesn't even look at him. Just stays silent. And he keeps talking. He keeps like, okay, follow-up question. Okay, let's change the subject. Let's talk about this. She doesn't say a word. Until he's like, by the way, about Haruki? Oh, then suddenly she wants to talk. She doesn't want to talk about anything else. She just wants to talk about Haruki. It is so annoying. I cannot imagine being this girl's friend. I cannot. And I love Setsuna. But during this university time, she is insufferable. But It was completely beyond the scope of Setsuna's expectations that she would ever be accused of being cruel. This word that she had spoken any number of times in cursing Haruki, now that it was being returned to her, exactly cursing her, all she could do was accept it as it pierced. It's crazy how you're so popular anyway. What about Haruki-kun? Right. Setsuna had changed, but apparently her fundamental essence hadn't, for better or for worse. There was a reason that Tomochika had stopped coming to school in April. No, there was a reason that he hadn't come along on the semester trip in February, too. Because that's the day of his sick mother's operation had been set. Oh, no. That's awful. And the fact that he disappears, right? He disappears from the trip. He disappears from school. She knows from overhearing gossip that he is having a very rough time, and she doesn't even ask. That's cruel. That's what it is to be a cruel friend. You're not cruel for turning somebody down, right? That's fine. But you are cruel for being a crappy friend, and that's what Setsuna is right now. She's really the worst friend. And on short notice, she was to be hospitalized the day that they departed for the trip, and the operation was to take place the day after. Time, money, readiness, the future. With so many problems weighing him down, he had no choice but to turn to Haruki, whom he had run into that night, causing such awkwardness for both of them. Yeah, that wasn't a good night. Haruki came half an hour after he was called. Calm, in control, preachy, just like always, he gave Tomochika a pep talk, as though that night had never happened, and then got to work. First, he took care of the most immediate matter, preparations for hospitalization, gathering the needed funds, and following up with their lodging. In other words, when it came to the trip, it wasn't Setsuna that Haruki had saved. Whatever circumstances he might have had, no matter how deep, how pressing, how characteristic, that fact did not change. That's fine. He doesn't have to do it for Setsuna. This is such a more pressing matter. Someone's mom got hospitalized because they were ill, and Setsuna's like, he wouldn't do that for me. Like, oh my God, yes, he would. But it doesn't always have to be about you. He's your ex-boyfriend you barely spoken to in the last 3 years. Haruki returned the night of the operation, which was a success, finally bringing Tomochika some relief. After hearing the news and being reassured himself, he started the procedures for hospitalizing the senior who had fractured his leg. Everything progressed well for Tomochika's mother, and in the middle of March, she was at last discharged. In the meantime, Haruki had found space in his busy schedule to go and visit her a number of times. Aww, that's so cute. With all of that, the day for which Tomochika had dearly wished, a complete recovery for his mother, was growing very near. But they both knew that the real battle was only beginning. They've been going through so much together. This is normal. This is what problems are going to be around you no matter what. But you have to move on from the past problems in order to tackle the future problems in the present. You can't just dwell on things that happened forever. And so Haruki and Tomochika moving on to care about the mom, rather than focusing on Setsuna nonstop all day, every day, even though they're not even dating anymore, that's probably for the best. Surgical fees, hospitalization fees, and all the money that would be required for treatments, rehabilitation, medicine. Insurance would cover some of it, but the amount left over was enormous. And with tuition cutting in, it wasn't possible for the Tomochika household to get on by part-time jobs. So, naturally, Tomochika resolved himself to drop out of the university and work. But the one who most vehemently objected to that noble determination was none other than Haruki. He lectured Tomochika for 3 days and 3 nights, telling him not to waste his talent, not to waste the year's worth of hard work that got him into college, that if he could weather this now, it would be sure to benefit his future. Tomochika finally buckled beneath his persistence and immediately began to act. He looked into every scholarship that he could take simultaneously, building a foundation that would allow him to devote himself to his studies. That's awesome. Like, having a good friend like this is so important. Someone you can rely on, someone that motivates you, someone who helps you when you're down. It really is. This is a beautiful friendship that they've built that Setsuna is so jealous of. Then, in April, to handle the upcoming tuition payment deadline, he added the job with the moving company to the 2 he was working already. Of course, Haruki was right there with him, keeping an eye on him and encouraging him when he got discouraged, unaccustomed as he was to manual labor. And let me just point out that Tomochika and Setsuna were pretty decent friends, like over the last few months that they had spent together before the awkwardness. Obviously, Setsuna was only his friend, so she could hear about Haruki. And then as soon as he was like, hey, do you want to go out with me? It just like all broke down. She's like, I have no use for you anymore. That's awful. She could have been helping him through this tough time too, but she didn't. His look, attitude, and actions were fierce and relentless and caused Tomochika to feel immensely indebted to him. And things went on like this for a month. At last, yesterday, with Tomochika and Haruki's salaries combined, they somehow reached the necessary tuition amount. The night before, they had raised a toast in celebration. Haruki gave him his entire salary. That's kind of beautiful. Not even kind of, that's good. Like, I don't compliment Haruki very much, obviously, but this is such a cool thing for him to have done. This is awesome. This is something very kind and worthwhile of spending energy on. Without Haruki, I would have dropped out ages ago. You never find anyone who will plunge into other people's circumstances like that. Most people would never go this far, even if they were getting something in return. He's a nut, and he drives me up the wall, and he's my best friend. Setsuna fell silent once again, desperately hid her wavering eyes. So I want him to... Congratulations. Ogiso? But right now, she couldn't maintain her indifference. About your mother. Congratulations. I hope she recovers completely soon. Oh, thanks. Well, yes, I'm really glad. And I mean that, okay? Ogiso. I'm sorry, Tomochika-kun. I got so hung up on little things and hurt you. No, I was the one who didn't get the message, so I'm going to leave now. I'm really sorry. See, like, this is... If she had said this in the beginning of the conversation in the cafe, that would have been great. I'm sorry, I got hung up on little things, I hurt you. I'm going to leave now, I'm sorry. That's fine. You know, you don't have to be around him. You don't have to be his friend even if you don't want to. But he deserved something. You know, man. But now it's like too little too late, and it's just awful. Her heart was about to break. She thought her heart had broken in February, but that wasn't true. She had just assumed it was, blamed everything on him. But Haruki wasn't the one in the wrong. He wasn't the cruel one. She realized that the truly wrong one, the truly cruel one, was the other member of that pair. Wait, Ogiso, there's still something I want to say. The reason for Setsuna's despair was disconnected from the essence of what Tomochika had said. It wasn't that she was embarrassed for having hated Haruki without knowing the situation, now that she knew that he had done it for his friend. Sorry, I can't. It was because even though she had learned how strong and noble he really was, she was jealous of Tomochika and his mother, and that terrible part of her nature had come home to her. Yeah, that's pretty pathetic, honestly. You're literally jealous of a sick, and she was almost dying woman in the hospital and her son because you couldn't see your not even boyfriend. Like, come on. You might regret it if you don't listen to me. As she listens to Tomochika's story, Setsuna was biting her lips, feeling both happy and viciously bitter. There's nothing for me to regret anymore. Haruki hadn't actually changed at all. But at that moment, he had prioritized Tomochika over her. Dude. Yes, your significant other should be like, whatever, the number one in your life. Like, that is who you're building a future on. That is someone who should be immensely important to you. But if your best friend has a dying mom and you're trying to get him not to drop out of school and helping him with all these super intense life situations, and you can't be there for your whatever ex-girlfriend, are you kidding me? I'm bitter about Setsuna. She's bitter about herself, but I'm more bitter about it. Even now that she knew the unavoidable circumstances that led to it, her pride wouldn't allow her to forgive it all. She was truly awful. She was a truly awful woman. I told you, Haruki and I were drinking together last night. Stop. It was about how I'll be able to come back to school. He was as happy as it had happened to him. Stop. And he broke off our friendship. That doesn't have anything to do with me. Huh? Oh, that's awful. Wait, hang on. What are you talking about, Haruki? You don't have to pay me back. Use it all. No, I can't do that. You're my friend. I can't just take your money. No, you have to. I'm about to do something terrible to you. Seriously, what the hell are you? Let me punch you. Just once. Oh my God. You know, I feel like I was on a roller coaster of like being really mad at Setsuna. And now I come back to Haruki and I'm like, you know what? I forgot. Haruki's super dumb also. Oh my God, boys. Why are college boys like this? Haruki? I'm really sorry to drag this up now, but I've been suppressing it for a long time. I almost exploded so many times, but I held it back until your mom's operation was done. I put it off again and again until she'd been discharged, until your tuition was paid off. But I don't have to now, right? You'll be fine without me from now on. So, we're done. And you can back the hell off, you son of a bitch. You fell for Setsuna, didn't you? You confessed to her right in front of me. You tried to take her from me. Well, I mean, you've been avoiding her. Oh my God, no. This is so funny. Because, like, this is super out of character for Haruki, right? Obviously getting so mad and swearing at somebody. And then Tomochika's just like, well, you're avoiding her, so, you know. Like, instead of being super shocked, he's just like kind of dumb. So what? You can't tell me you weren't planning on breaking up with her. You don't know the first damn thing about us. Don't talk like you know. Haruki, I betrayed Setsuna. I know she'll never accept me again. She'll never forgive me. But I can't let another guy go after her. That's awful. What an awful, controlling thing to do. Ugh. That makes me sick just like reading it. Isn't that pretty unfair to her? It is unfair. It's cruel, but it's how I feel. I can't stand it. Tomochika, you're a good guy. You're a great guy. I think you're even more commendable as a person than my best friend. You might even make Setsuna happy. But I don't want to see Setsuna happy with another guy. Feel free to keep coming to me whenever you have trouble. I won't hesitate to help. But we're not friends anymore. Oh my God. I'm not forgiving you again. And he really did hit me. See? Here's the bruise. I don't think he's hit anyone before, though. He probably hurt his fist more than me. Dude. Okay, like, I've jumped off the Setsuna is dumb roller coaster, and now I'm on the Haruki is dumb roller coaster. This is so unhealthy. You cheat on your girlfriend, you end up breaking up, she keeps trying to reconnect with you, but it's just not working out. You can't prevent her from dating another guy. That is so awful. That is so toxic and disgusting and unfair to you and to her. But, you know, if people had common sense, White Album 2 wouldn't even exist as a story. So I guess, like, it's par for the course. But on that note, I think I will stop here for today. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the bonus part of White Album 2, and I'll be back with the next part shortly. Until then, hope you take care. See you.